G'day guys. Today I'm going to talk about some coils, and some of your coils are actually helping you to miss gold. And also, if you are not looking for gold, maybe you're missing coins, and I'll show you why. I only took notice of this yesterday when I was out. I just actually looking at the bottom of the coils, and one of them was quite spongy, and I said, hang on a second, what's going on here? So I had a bit of investigation. I'll just get this one up here. This is just that factory standard commander coil. I'm not really, you might think that everything's aimed at Minelab. It's not. It's just that I have lots of Minelab coils. So they're going to get the treatment. You know, if I had Coil Tech ones, they would also be getting the treatment, and the nugget finder ones, they're a different construction nowadays anyway. They're all sort of open, and they're not like this, but I suppose it can apply to skid plates as well. But this one in particular, I looked at it, and if I look across there, the coil is actually convex. It actually is shaped like this. And if you get on the skid plate, well, I can push that down about 5 millimeters. So what's happening is the coil is in the outer part here, and you've got this doming effect on the skid plate, but it could also be on the actual coil, and it could be something's happened inside here to do it, or the way they've cooled the ABS plastic. They've raced it out. There's Chari sneezing. Should have shut the door. But yeah, that's completely domed. We'll have a look at another one. And this is the other one. This is the one that I rebuilt, but I've noticed as well, it's domed. It's got a dome shape across the top. And it's another, I made this perfectly flat. That's why I did the internals on this, and I know it was flat. So obviously here, I can push that down about 7 millimeters. So if you're looking for small gold and you've got a coil, and either the skid plate or the bottom of the coil is being cooled in a way that it's had this convex shape, it's pushing your coil off the ground, or the actual active part of your coil. If you've got a very small coil and you're looking for, you know, that reef break type gold, the spurry gold, it's very hard to detect because it has a fast decay, and even fairly big pieces of it can be very close to the surface. You know, 10 millimeters. If you include the plastic, say you got 1.5 millimeters thickness plastic on your skid plate, 1.5 on the bottom of the coil's offset a little bit from the base, and yeah, you start adding it up and you've got something like that. You could get up to about 15 millimeters from the target away from the coil in height, because you know this is all just like so in the way of the ground, and it's not getting right down. So in that situation, any coils that have this effect, this doming, is going to cost you gold. I'll absolutely prove that, because I know myself that if I've got a detector and it's in the threshold of picking something up, and just by moving it, sometimes 5 millimeters, the signal dies off enough and you can't hear it in the noise. It's just not there. So we'll have a look at some more of these. I had to, is it this one? I think, no, it's not this one. This one too is a commander coil. And this one here, I think is relatively flat. I'm pushing it, I can hear, when I push it in, I can hear clack, clack, as it touched the skid plate is clicking on the bottom of the coil. There's about 3 millimeters there. So what I suggest, this one's got 3 millimeters. It's a bigger coil. Will it make that much difference? Probably not, because it's not going to be very sensitive to very tiny gold. I'm just going through all these coils here. That's another Minelab mono. Oh my God, this is like a sponge. All right. Yeah. It's also spongy around here. It doesn't look it, but it is actually high. It's actually high. I'll tell you how I can prove it if I got a right in front of me, a straight edge. There is a, yeah, I don't know if you can see that. There, I can rock the ruler on that quite easy. There is about 3 millimeter gap here, 3 millimeter gap there. So take into account the gapping, how spongy it is in the middle. Oh, God, it's about another. It's probably about 3. It's about the same as that plastic. It's about 5 mil away from the ground, but that's not such a big deal. One thing I have noticed on these commanders, I don't know why I've got a lot of commander coils, just the way it turned out. That this is the one I've been using in here for tests, and if you look at that, it's absolutely dead straight. It is very, very straight. So there's no rock. There's nothing there. It's hard as a rock, this one. There's no give in that whatsoever. So that's perfectly fine. I had one here, which I got coils all over the place here. No, not that one. This one here. This is the one here that's fairly domed. It's quite distorted, actually. Oh, that's got a huge deviation both ends. That's about 5 or 6 millimeters there, and about 3 there. And as I move it round, it changes, opens up and closes. But let's have a look, because this one here I actually decided to pull apart so I can show you. Okay. So we'll have a look at, I'll just look at the skid plate. Skid plate. It's the bottom of the coil, it's not a skid plate. The skid plate is, or bottom of the coil, sorry, because I'm so used to pulling off one layer, it's a skid plate, then it's the bottom of the coil. This one didn't have a skid plate sitting over there. But this one here, this bottom of the coil has a huge rock on it, right down to there and there. So it could be about 5 or 6 mil. But I had a look at this one, and on the actual coil design, it's got a huge lump here. There's a massive lump sticking up there. This is the way the coil is made, by the way. Look at that. If you can see that, there's just a... Well, if I hold it down like that, you can see on that end that it's got a massive gap. It's about another 5 mil, and there. So it's a 5 mil mountain sort of in the middle of the coil. This, again, whatever is happened here, yeah, won't allow that bottom to come on hard down on this. 5, 6, 7. You've got 8 millimeters of the coil. This bit here, 8 millimeters between this and the ground. So if you're scrubbing for small gold, you want to get your ruler, and yeah, this one zero doesn't start right in the end. It's got about 5 millimeters. So if we do that, if you have a look at, I'll just 5, that's 5, 6, 7, 8. If you look at that, where my, try and move my, if you look where my bottom of my thumb is, that's how much ground you're not getting down onto. It's a massive spacing there. That is 8 millimeters spacing. So you think you're on the ground, you're not. You're not scrubbing it. And for very small gold, which is very sensitive to the outside of the coil where the windings are, it's not so sensitive anymore because you're 8 millimeters away. So you got to look at all your coils and you take things into account. What I was doing back years ago when I was doing small coils, small gold, I would not use the skid plates that were from the manufacturers or aftermarkets. What I would do, and I don't know if you can still get them, but I used to buy business shirts in these boxes about so by so, and they had this plastic lid on the box and it was clear, and I don't know what it was probably some sort of polyvinyl acetal, whatever it was, but it was fairly thick. When I say thick, I don't mean thick like 1 millimeter or 2 millimeters. It was probably 0.2 of a millimeter, but it was fairly strong and it was slippery and it was tough. And what I would do, I would get that and I'd cut a little bit of an oversized circle, and then I would measure the actual coil and then cut around it, just in like so, so I can then fold it around the bottom of the coil, and then I just tape it with whatever tape I had. I think, sometimes I'd use masking tape, other times I'd use that handlebar hockey stick tape, which is this cloth stuff, and it's sticky. Sometimes it's sticky. If you let it sit out in the atmosphere, it will dry out, but it's enough stick there, you can stick it yourself anyway. I don't even know if it's got a brand. Oh, there you go. Certoplast. Yeah. CERTOPLAST. That's the brand name, and I got this off AliExpress years ago. I bought a huge, big tube of this stuff, and it wasn't expensive. It was, I think it's something like maybe under $1 one of these. I think, for memory, it wasn't expensive. I know that, but this is what everyone usually does the outside of their coils with. So it's good for abrasion and makes a good bump strip as well. So it's cloth, and obviously if you hit rocks and that, it's not going to really jar the coil too much. It's got a bit of give in it. So that's that stuff. But yeah, I was just looking at coils. I picked this. This has been dropped off. This is one of these. You got to be Hercules to lift this. I don't know why the coil's so damn heavy. I know it's got a lot of copper in it, but if you have a look at it, the construction, it's full of some, I don't know, what is this stuff? It's some resin. Resin's heavy in itself, or it could be some rubberized stuff. I don't know what it is, but there's a lot of weight in this. I mean, it is, God, that is just so heavy. Yeah, hey, grey nomads out there, don't buy your missus a 7000. She won't be able to use it unless she's built like a tank. Oh dear me. But yeah, this thing here. And speaking of this too, I was actually looking at these dongle chips, little I think it's a little I2C chip in here. I was actually looking at the data protocols of how this actually goes back to the detector, how it communicates. And I was just having a look at the protocols on that, and yeah, I'm not overly convinced, in my opinion, that this is totally 100% secure, as in sticking it into the detector and doing the handshake thing. I'll tell you why. A while ago, I had something very similar. Okay, I had something very, very similar, and it required a 4-digit code to be put in, else it would not work. And I had a look at this thing, and it had a little chip that was, spoken to 3-wire, like an SPI type thing, but it was actually one of these 3-legged type chip devices where you can do data in, data up or out on the same line. But I looked at this and I said, well, does this really need that to turn this on? And it just was a 4-digit beep, 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 and then it would go, talk to the main unit, and then it would give a data code back, and then it would go back again, I think, and then it would turn on. Now, I thought this was like rather mad, but I actually looked at this, and I looked at how things worked at the CPU level, and I came up with a way to defeat it. So it doesn't look at the dongle anymore for this, keypad. You just turn this unit on and it just works. I'm just wondering if you can do that with these detectors. They never say never. So in my opinion, it might be able to be defeated. It may be. I don't know 100%. It might have some curlies on it. It's very interesting how this stuff works. But I'm not going to go into the technicalities of it. It's not really my specialty. But I have been reading up and educating myself on this data transfer system. We'll call it that, a system. I think it was invented by Philips, actually. I used to work for Philips years and years ago, long time ago. So something to look at. But anyway, that wasn't it. That wasn't the thing I wanted to talk about, because I picked up this. So it just triggered me on the dongle because it's sitting there staring me in the face. That's the reason there. But yeah, what I should say, if we look at this, that's perfectly flat. Definitely, I would say. I'll run the ruler over it, just make sure she's flat. I'd say it is. Not really. It's got a rock to it, but it's flat within a millimetre or two. Well, there you go. Maybe 3 millimetres there, but that doesn't make any difference really for this type of coil. It's not going to do anything. But smaller coils, yes, it will make a difference for small gold. I don't think. No, it's the main coil to these. It's all set distances and things. It's not going to do anything. That tiny little amount have no effect. But on our other coils, yes, it is. It's going to have a detrimental effect on very small gold. And sometimes I've noticed when I've been out even digging coins, in some instances, if say you had a very fringy type iffy signal, 5 millimeters, right, will make the difference between saying that's a definite target or getting a number ID on a one of these VLFs that want to tell you what you're digging within reason, and not being able to lock onto it and give a proper reading to what it is. This is the sort of thing I'm talking about, and it's mainly to do with small coils. So the prospectors out there, you definitely will lose gold. And I'll give you a perfect example. Okay, you probably, anyone who's been doing prospecting for a while will know this. Say you got an area and it's a patch, and you know damn well you're getting all these little, point 0.1, point 0.2, whatever the size gold is, right? And you'll go over the area, you'll grid it, you'll go this way, you'll go that way, and you'll say, there's no more gold in that area. You'll swear to death, there's no more gold there, I can't detect any more. Then a good prospector will rake the area. So he'll rake all the little pebbles off, the little branches, any leaf buildup, anything like that. He'll rake it and make it very, very, flat, nice and smooth. Now, 9 times out of 10, you go over that ground again, you get more gold, right? It's true. A lot of people should know that. I know that. I've done it. I've done that many a time, raked the ground and more gold comes up. Hang on, I've only got rid of little pebbles. I've come down 5 or 10 millimeters closer to the ground with my coil. And, I can get more gold now. Isn't that interesting? You have moved down that far and gold pops up. So what's happening with your coil? Doing the same thing. You've got a convex bottomed coil, either in the skid plate, which maybe it has been forced on and you've done it on tight and it's just done this, or it's made like that. Most of them are actually, I don't know the whole mechanism. I don't make oil. I have made coils with a vacuum former before, but I don't do it as a job, and I don't go making skid plates. And a lot of it's to do with how they cool it. Do they just throw them somewhere and they cool iggly-piggly, or do they put them down flat on a surface? I don't know. I'm not there, so I wouldn't know. And whatever happens, they must cool in some funny way that they bloat upwards. And it's also on the coil bottoms as well. Some of them, not all of them, they're a bit more careful with the actual coils. I've had some real bloated looking coils in the past. And what I've done, ABS, they're all made of ABS. Well, they were. They might be made of something more exotic now, some of the more fancy type coils. But 99% of the coils out there are made of ABS plastic. And what you can do with ABS plastic, you get a hot air gun, and you need a non-contact heat temperature gun. One of those things. You get them on Alibaba. I think they're about $9.95 or something. But get one of those. Something that is non-contact, and you can measure the temperature. And get a hot air gun. Probably a gun you use for paint stripping. Don't use a hairdryer. It won't get as hot as it should be. And some people, no, I'm not going to say that because you'll do it and you'll wreck your coil. Heat the bottom of the coil up. Okay, heat it up with the gun. Look at it till it gets to 100 degrees Celsius. So when it gets to about 100 degrees, maybe you want to be a little bit more off that, say 90, just in case there's an error in your temperature measuring instrument because it's not calibrated. We'll allow 10%. And what you do then is just heat the coil, leave it up and keep it very, very flat. So it's like so, on the bottom of the coil I'm talking about. And just with some flat object, what could we use? Something, you have to have something that's flat. You've got to know it's flat. A piece of glass is beautiful because glass is flat unless it's 500 years old and it'll bend. Glass is fluid, by the way. But something flat, even if you could probably tip it over on a flat table and just hold it down, push it down and let it cool. Because you don't want to go over 100 degrees because you're going to end up with your coil starting to drip everywhere. And too much under, it's not going to do much anyway. But yeah, the transition temperature is 100 degrees. And you look that up on the internet too. I did. And it said, yeah, you can get the plastic to slightly reform at 100 degrees Celsius. So that is the story with that. You heat it up, flatten it out, and you can get, the thing more flat and get closer to the ground. So check your coils. It doesn't matter what coil it is. Wouldn't matter who made it. Anything coming out of Europe, out of China. I was going to say Australia, but I don't know if we. Well, there is. There's, of course, there's coils made out of Australia. I was just Mine Lab mode. I don't think they make any coils here, but yeah, of course you've got Coil Tech and Nugget Finder, and some of the overseas brands as well. They're all ABS. It's easy to tell because I can stick the stuff together with ABS glue, and I can easily melt it with acetone and stick it to itself with acetone. Usually indicates it's ABS. And also the transition temperature, if you want to sort of move it, squash it, is 100 degrees. So that's the story on coils, and I just realized that when I just looked at the bottom of these. I said, hang on, that's sort of got a bit of a shape to that. And because when I was doing tests, I buried the targets in the fringe field of where these coils would go. Small target, probably something like about, whatever, that far away or whatever it was, whatever we did it down to. So like 4-gram targets at 9 inches or 10 inches or something of that nature. And we were just, going over them, and I just noticed a sort of different response from sort of like in the intensity of the sound a little bit. And the thing was that this is the coil that I did the modification on, and this has the biggest convex of all of them. So it's in this skid plate. This skid plate, look at that, I just pushed that right down. So that was actually reducing the signal, but it gave the best signal anyway, even though it was reduced because of that overly convex shape. So if I actually go and heat this up and reform it flat, I can go back out there and it will sound off even better, and it's just a better coil. That's the one with the one I completely rebuilt. But yeah, I can rock that on the ground back and forth. It's just doing this on the ground, so it shouldn't do that. That tells you your coils, like got a bow in it. So, and this other one, the Commander, it's got a little bit, but it's not as bad as that other Super Gold Search. But like I say, it's only because I've got Mind Lab coils here. It's not Mind Lab coils are the only ones with this issue. It's all of them. Let's have a look. I'll tell you one. Yeah, I've got this that X coil thing from overseas. That's a bit. David broke that off. It was glued on really tight, so I think he just lost it and broke it. But anyway, I might have done the same, but it could have just been the only way you could get it off. The coil was stuffed anyway. It didn't make any difference. We didn't have to be gentle with it. But let's have a look at this and just see. Well, those Russians are making a very, very flat bottom of the coil. I'll tell you that. That's perfectly flat. There's no rock in that whatsoever. He's just dead flat. No problem. So we'll call it out as it is. We won't say it's something it's not. But yeah, this Commander here with that big lump here, I'm going to have to cut all this off. I'm going to redo this one as well. Actually, I'm going to do a complete different winding in here, and I'm going to show you. Oh, have I got one? Yes, I have. I've got another Commander coil, the same size as this. They're both Commander coils, and I'm going to redo this one, and I'm going to do it with my wire. And the way I do things in a particular way, right? I'm just waiting on something to roll up on the doorstep so I can actually do this. I'm going to jump onto this. We'll just clean it up. I'll just use the foam under there, nothing else. I'm going to strip the whole thing right down, and then I can compare it with the other one here. I know I wrote, oh gee, come here. I've written detector mods on there, just because you got to be careful with coils when you go out doing coil tests with people, right? And this is when you get a lot of people in a group, and you have a lot of coils. They tend to get muddled up. No one knows who owns what. Some people want to own other coils rather than their own, and all sorts of things. And I'll tell you this. This is personal experience. I'm going to tell you this, right? Don't take coils and have spare coil shafts and things like that. You will find that at the end of the day, you'll be minus coil shafts, because it's happened to me. And the other thing too, when we're digging test target holes or digging up a target, and you've got 5 or 7 or 8 people there, what'll happen? And this is from experience. You'll have a generic pick, okay, something that everyone owns. They all look the same, and what happens, right, is you let someone, you dig in the hole, and you let someone dig the hole for you. They might be, he'll dig it, then he'll dig it, and all take turns digging the hole, so no one gets overly tired or worn out or whatever. Just share the load, and after all the kerfuffle, people go and do their own thing. They're gone, and you'll say this: "Where's my pick?" Someone's walked off with it. It's happened to me about 3 times, and I've also left picks out in the bush after getting excited, after digging up some gold. I've gone, oh wow, jump up and down and walk off and leave the pick there. I've done that so many times as well. But you got to remember, I've been doing this since 1980, so I've left a lot of picks out in the bush. But my pick now, I don't know, it's not in here, it's somewhere around. But if you have a look at it, I've painted it bright pink. So it's got my name and black texture down the shaft as well. So it's an orangey, fluoro-y pink colour, just so it stands out that I won't leave it behind. And also, if anyone walks off with it, I say, hey, that's not your pick. So it really stands out. You've got to change the colour of your generic picks. Everyone's lost picks. I guarantee it. You've all lost picks, haven't you? Yeah, I was keeping the pick manufacturers in business there for a couple of years, but it's true. It's just what happens out in the gold field. You just put things down. I know people have left their detectors up against a tree when they're packing their car, and they've driven off. And they've gone all the way back to Melbourne. They've been out, middle of Victoria, and they get there and unpacking the car and go, "Where's the detector?" Oh no, I left it up against a tree. And I know one guy that because of his work, he couldn't get back out there for another week. And when he went back out there, the detector's still there up against a tree. True story. That was Warren from the Seekers Club. Sorry, Warren, for dobbing you in, but yeah, it was his SD 2200. Funny things. I've got a lot of stories I could tell about the gold fields and the gold industry and the people and all the funny stuff that goes on. But anyway, that wasn't about that. That was about coils. It was about bent coils, convex shaped skid plates and base plates, and things that go wrong in the coil that fluff the whole thing up as well. So I hope that was a good explanation of how you're all walking over gold and not hearing it, because it's true. Just those millimeters, or a quarter of an inch, if we have to talk to the metrically compromised people, a quarter of an inch or whatever, a little bit more, you will miss targets. You will definitely miss targets because of that. And like I say, you want to prove it yourself. Find a little area you found some little bits of gold. Go and rake it and go over it again, even with that gap in your coil if you got it. But every coil's got a natural gap anyway. It's got plastic there. You've got 1.5 or very close to 1.2. Very thin plastic. We're getting down to probably 1 millimeter. And then if you have the skid plate as well, normally skid plates are a little bit more. They're all about 1.5. So you're getting close to probably, with a little bit of air gap and everything, 3 millimeters in plastic. Thereabouts. Could be more, could be less, depends. And also the windings in the coil, are they stepped up in the foam, or are they pulled right down hard? As soon as you have that, they're up here and the plastic's there and the gaps there, you're going to have huge distance from the bottom of the coil windings to the ground, and that is going to cause loss of detectability on small gold. It just will. So you've all probably walked over many 0.1s and 0.2s without knowing they were there, even though they were. So yeah, that's enough of this video. It's gone for 36 minutes and 18 seconds or so. That'll do us anyway. Catch us.